This is Cruise Radio.
Cruise Radio is brought to you in part by tripinsurance.com. Travel insurance done right by the people who know travel insurance. Get a quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida.
This is
Cruise Radio. Cruise Radio.
Last month, Victoria took a cruise on Carnival Mardi Gras, and she's here to talk about it today. How you doing, Victoria?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Before the interview, we were chatting, and this is your first time sailing Carnival in over a decade. So excited to hear how you're seeing the cruise line evolve over a decade, I guess we'll say. Now, you're in the LA area. You came over here to Florida to cruise. What made you want to fly across the country for Mardi Gras?
Well, although I'm in the LA area, my family is still based on the East Coast, and we've been cruising over Christmas since 2009, and it was a couple of years ago when we added like the partners to the mix where we started alternating Christmas and New Year. So every year I make a spreadsheet with cruises over the holidays, kind of comparing different cruise lines and itineraries and ships, and I rate them based on cool itinerary, cool ship, because we've been doing cruises for a lot, so there's not a lot of places we haven't been. Nice. And when we have them all compared, we'll kind of do some analysis about what's the best price for the value, where's a neat ship we want to try out. And this year it was the Mardi Gras.
The spreadsheet thing fascinates me. So do you compare, do you keep track of everything, drink packages, dining, etc., whatever the cruise line offers, basically?
Yes, if it's one of the cruise lines like Norwegian or Princess or Celebrity that have an all-inclusive option, I'll add that into the spreadsheet to price compare.
All right, so let's talk about your pre-cruise time. So you make your way over to Orlando. Did you do anything in the Central Florida area before boarding Mardi Gras?
My sister had a hotel room at downtown Disney, and we stayed with her for that night. So by the time we got to the hotel, it was probably like 1:30 in the morning.
All right, so you get a few hours of sleep, and you wake up to head to Terminal 3 at Port Canaveral to board Carnival's Mardi Gras. So how was your embarkation process, and how long did it take you to get from the curb to the ship?
So we drove from Disney to Port Canaveral. My parents had actually driven down from South Carolina to Florida, so they had the big Suburban to take all of us in our luggage. And it was like a 45-minute drive. Then when we arrived at the port, very quick to the curb service. And then it took my dad forever to park the car. He said there were hardly any spaces in the garage. And we were waiting for him because we had his passport. So he couldn't go through the line until we got him because we couldn't go with his passport or he wouldn't have one.
Right.
So we were a little bit late. We were supposed to be 12:30 was our port arrival time. I think by the time we got in, it was probably like 12:45. Mm-hmm. But besides that, security was relatively seamless. I will say that my brother-in-law brought a Bluetooth speaker, which was confiscated.
Now, was this just a test with the Bluetooth, or was he trying to legit sneak it?
Yeah, he knew about it. He was just trying to test the waters, and they caught it immediately.
So you get on board the ship. You haven't sailed about a decade or so, as we discussed. So give me some first impressions. Much different than the other ships you've been on, huh?
It is quite different. We boarded in, I'm forgetting, center stage. That's the area. Instead of like the Centrum, it's the big stage that's multi-level kind of area. Mm-hmm. And a little bit crowded down there. We went immediately to our muster station, which was in the Mardi Gras theater, to go ahead and get that out of the way. The muster was pretty nice because they would take in like small groups at a time and then kind of go over the life jacket demonstration, and it was very efficient. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, such a difference these days. So what kind of stateroom did you book on this cruise, and what were your impressions throughout your voyage?
We booked spa balcony staterooms, and they were on deck 17. We had booked spa staterooms before on Norwegian, so we were kind of familiar with the concept, and we're hoping it would be similar. And so our rooms were on deck 17, but the spa's on deck 5. Mm-hmm. I was like, that doesn't seem convenient, but actually there is an elevator that takes you straight from 17 right down to the spa in 5. So it was very convenient. Our room itself, I'd say, for the spa room, it's supposed to come with upgraded amenities. I wasn't sure what to expect. The upgraded amenities are Elemis shampoo and Elemis bath wash, but there wasn't any conditioner or lotion. So I was a little surprised by that. They really just maybe upgraded like what's in the on the wall shower situation. Yeah. But there's plenty of storage. We had plenty of room for all of our things. They have nice ambient lighting throughout the room above the headboard and really great night light in the bathroom so you don't blind yourself in the morning when you turn it on. And then the other thing with the spa room is it's supposed to come with robes. And my boyfriend and I, we didn't get the robes, but my parents did, and my sister and her husband did. And so we asked our stateroom attendant for the robes, and he said, well, we have like 30 spa staterooms and only 20 robes. So we have to decide who uses them or not. And I'm like, how can you know if we're going to use it if we don't have it to use? So he brought us robes. It was good.
That's a pretty bizarre, not, how do they know who's going to use them? Anyway, let's talk about dining on this cruise here. We'll start at the Lido Deck Marketplace. What'd you think? And how were the crowds?
Right. So actually, this is like my first big tip. So when we got on the ship, of course, the rooms weren't ready. So we went up to the Lido deck, and there was no tables to be found everywhere because everybody is camping out at the tables with all of their stuff. And then right come like 1:15, whenever the rooms are ready, everybody got up and left. So my advice would be, if you're getting on the ship, and just hang out in the lounges, like find a bar, like don't be too hungry when you get on. And then at 1:15, you can head right up to the Lido deck, and there will be no crowds because everyone will be at their room at that point. But as far as the layout of the marketplace, I thought it was congested for the walkways. I'm an architect, so I'm a little bit more, more critical of layouts of space. I thought the walkways were too narrow. I didn't appreciate like the separation between the different stations. There was a lot of walking all the way to the back just to get to the food, and you're passing like all of these tables. I thought it could have been spread out a little bit better.
How about if you were walking outside of the buffet by the pool? Do you have those 3 stalls there on the starboard side and then the Blue Iguana Cantina?
Right. A Blue Iguana Cantina. The food was very good. Actually, in general, all the casual eats at Carnival are good. The problem with Blue Iguana is the lines are crazy long, and you also have to get in the right line, whether you want burritos or tacos. And some people don't. I didn't, not the first until my parents told me about it, because I realized that once you get to the front, you're either in the taco line or the burrito line. So hopefully you waited in the right one. But the quality is good.
How about the main dining room for this cruise? What time dining did you have, and how was your experience in there?
So we had the late dining time, which was at 8:30. And the first time we went was actually the second night of the cruise, and it was formal night. And we went in there, we're seated at our table, and we waited there for a solid 15, maybe 20 minutes before anyone came by to us. We actually started to like flag someone down because thought maybe we were just forgotten. And then when we started flagging, that's when the waiter came up and he's like, "Hey, sorry, like I'm behind. I'm going to get to you guys." It was the slowest service that night. But then when we returned later in the cruise, it was still pretty slow. I don't blame this at all on the servers. I think there was maybe some issues with the staffing or scheduling or something. It seemed like they were shorthanded and that they didn't like have teams to pull from, because it was just like one guy versus like having, a server and an assistant server and a head waiter. Like I never saw a head waiter in that dining room. And overall, I'd say not a lot of people were in the dining room at the time that we were there, like at all on the cruise. So I don't know if they were eating earlier or maybe eating at earlier locations or casual dining, but it seemed not very well attended.
The families were probably doing like the 5:15 seating or whatever that first one is there.
Yeah, a good tip I got from this person in the hot tub who was overheard is that if you arrive to the dining room like 15 minutes early, the doors are open and you can go ahead and sit down and they start serving you. So we did that the next time we went to the dining room, took her hot tip, and it actually worked out better.
That's the first I've heard of that, but if it works, more power to you. Awesome. Did you do any specialty dining on this sailing?
We did. So our first night dinner was at Fahrenheit 555. My sister and brother-in-law booked that for us as a Christmas gift. And the reason they booked the first night of the cruise is because there's a promotion where you get a free bottle of wine per cabin on the first night. That was definitely the best meal we had of the entire cruise. It was a great way to start. And then with the wine promotion, so in addition to the free bottles, like you could upgrade one of your bottles for like 50% of the price of that bottle. And so we started out with an upgraded bottle of wine, and then we got a free bottle, but we didn't get a third bottle. And then when it was time to go, the wait staff, they actually brought over 2 bottles of wine for us to take with us. So I think instead of just upgrading that one bottle, they just gave us another. So that was a nice surprise.
Huh. Yeah. And then after Fahrenheit, where'd you go?
So we also ate at the seafood restaurant. So we didn't have a reservation booked there at first, but after our bad kind of dining room experiences, my dad was like, I'm sick of the dining room. I'm booking the seafood restaurant. And that one was nice. It was a good experience, nice ambiance. We also did a night, we went to Bonsai Sushi. Surface kind of slow there, but yeah, that's kind of the theme throughout the cruise. And then the free options we took advantage of as well. You can do your first dinner free at the Cucina del Capitano, is the name.
Yeah.
And then also the Chibang.
Chibang is the one that has the Mexican and Asian food?
Yes. And so I thought, based on the name and description, that it would be Mexican Asian fusion, but it is not fusion. It is a Mexican menu and an Asian menu, and you choose which menu you order from. So I was thinking we're getting like a wonton burrito, but no, it's not like that.
Did you dine at either the pizza place or what is it, the deli down there on deck 8, I believe?
Yes, there was pizza, and then there was also a panini spot. Both of those options were really good. The pizza downstairs, pizza in the buffet, not so much. And then Emerald's, no, we walked by it a couple times actually. So the comment I have on Emerald's is we would have loved to eat at like an Emerald's sit down restaurant, but the bistro aspect of it just wasn't very appealing what they had there. And then also that is one of the nicest design areas on the ship. Like it's a very cool area. It's like double height and like a nice ambient lighting, but it's very dead just because nobody's really eating at Emerald's Bistro.
All right, let's talk about the entertainment here. How is Carnival's entertainment in 2025?
So to be honest, I wasn't really expecting a lot of entertainment from Carnival. But we did go to one of their shows. It was one night there's nothing else to do. Is my boyfriend and I were the only ones that went. It was called Rock Revolution, and it was their theater group. It was in the Mardi Gras Theater, and it was based on Woodstock 69, their interpretation of it. And I was expecting, this is bad, then we could just get up and leave in the middle of it. Actually, wow, I was so impressed. It was a weird show. Very weird. The choreography was insane. It was like contemporary dancing. They moved nonstop. I think they had 8 total dancers, but they would swap them out. So there's no breaks. They always had 6 dancer singers on the stage at a time. Very fast moving pace, very psychedelic, a lot of lighting effects, which were cool. Minimal cropping and set changes, but the best part of the show is that cast, they were going at it 100%. They were giving it their everything. And you just see all these like very like talented and also like passionate people. I was very impressed with the show. I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to, but it was super great.
How about outside of the shows, karaoke, trivia, music around the ship, any bars that really stuck out to you?
Yes, the entertainment around the ship was really good. There was a guitarist named Kevin who would play in the Brass Magnolia. There was the Havana Bar had a really good band who would play in the evenings, and there would be like evening salsa dancing. And there's a string trio, 3 girls, very great. I was very impressed with all the individual like little groups that would play at the different venues. Now we went into the piano bar on the first night, but we thought if we go the first night, maybe we can get a seat because no one knows about it yet, but that wasn't true. It was packed out. We couldn't get a seat. And so we ended up leaving eventually. So I don't know about there. I love piano bars, but unfortunately, that venue was always so packed.
Yeah, Carnival's piano bars and the comedy clubs are they could both stand to be a little bit larger, even if they probably, maybe put in one less stateroom. I don't know how that works, but one less stateroom or two less staterooms. I guarantee you they could make it up with the amount of drinks they could sell if the place was large. Because I remember I walked all around there trying to get into the piano bar, and I think I got into the Punchliner Comedy Club once on a 7-night cruise. It was just so packed.
Yeah, that's my criticism of both the piano bar and the comedy club is that they're so popular. Everybody wants to go to them, and they're undersized venues. And so people miss out on the comedians and the pianists.
Was there any other entertainment you'd like to talk about before we move on here?
In the center area, there's aerialists who, unfortunately, their shows, like, I could never get a good view of it. Seating in there is weird. And it's kind of stadium, but lounge seating. But if you're not at the front, you can't really see anything. But I did see the aerialists practice. That, I guess, is a tip. If during the day, I think when we were in Nassau, they were practicing. So I got to watch them rehearse because they had to rehearse out there because that's, I guess, where they have their silks set up. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's a tip for like Royal Caribbean too with their Aqua Theater because it's always so packed and popular. If you're not getting off the ship in port days, they normally do a dry run or a dress rehearsal during the day. You can watch the whole thing without 1,000 people around you. Let's talk about the sea days though, as far as crowds and congestion.
So our first sea day was a little bit kind of cold and rainy, not so great outside. So we stayed inside most of the day, and it was really nice. Like, it wasn't crowded at all in the indoor locations. Our second sea day was the third day of the cruise, and we didn't realize how impossible it would be to get sun chairs, I guess because the day before we'd stayed on in Nassau. So we had no problem getting sun chairs. And then the sea day, it was no sun chairs available. And it's not because people were sitting in them. Of course, it's because people like threw their stuff in the chair. And then you're like, whose chair is this? I don't want to get yelled at if someone comes back for it. It seems like they're saving this. So we walked around for a while, couldn't get seats on the top deck, and then ended up going down to deck 8, which also has an outdoor area. Also could not get seats there. So we just sat at the outdoor pizza area with like seating for a while. And then finally we were able to snag this clamshell seat up on the deck right by the water slides. It was like one seat for 3 of us. It was me, my boyfriend, and my sister. We just all squished in there.
They weren't monitoring the deck chair hogs?
Not at all.
No. That's a shame. They love to brag about the enforcement of 40 minutes or less, or they move your stuff to the towel hut. So the casino, how was it for the smoke situation in and around it?
You walk through this casino and it's smoky, but the good thing about the casino is that it's like enclosed, so it doesn't really get to other areas of the ship.
Right.
However, because you always ask about the smoking and the casino, the issue I kind of came across with smoking is that they have 2 different outdoor areas set up for smoking. One was on deck 8, I think, whatever the outdoor one is, deck 8.
Yeah, 8.
And then the other, I think, was deck 17. And they were on the starboard side, but not all the way to the aft. And so the smoke would like blow back to where the pools were. And I just thought that maybe it wasn't thought through entirely.
The ports of call, so you leave Port Canaveral and you head to your first one, which was what, and what was the highlight?
So Nassau, we did not get off the ship. We've been there a lot. So we just stayed on and made that kind of our own little sea day. Our other port of call, Amber Cove. So that is the cove. At Amber Cove, we booked a dune buggy excursion. And the dune buggy reviews, it said, you'll get very dirty. And so I passed along to my family, you'll get really dirty. I said, I'm wearing black athletic shorts and a black tank top, and my boyfriend wore swim trunks and like a UPF shirt. And my mom, I guess she interpreted you'll get dirty as in like you'll get dusty. And so she came out in like her little light blue pullover, and it was like we had to go. So we just kind of like, we went on. Nobody said anything about, are you sure you want to be wearing that? Well, the dune buggy excursion place, so we booked it third party. I booked it through Viator. And it was pretty convenient. You had to walk all the way outside of the port, but they sent me very detailed instructions on how to get there. And so they like picked us up. It was a very short drive to where you get on the dune buggies, you sign your waivers. They had lockers there, and they did not tell us that they had lockers because we would have used one because my brother-in-law had his laptop in a backpack that my sister carried on the dune buggy. But they weren't like peddling things hard. Like, sometimes at excursions, they say, oh, buy our bandanas, buy our lockers, like really trying to get you to buy. But it wasn't the case, which is kind of nice. But also, we would have liked to buy some of the things. And the dune buggies is very fun. You go out, like kind of drive through the town a little bit, and then they have dirt roads, which I'm suspicious that they actually coat down with water in the mornings to make it like extra muddy because it was dry in the town. So why is there all of a sudden huge puddles? But my boyfriend and I were in the dune buggy that was in front, and they told us, like, we got to the big puddle. They said, oh, drive as fast as you can right through the middle. And he did it. And I was sitting there. I had my phone in my lap, and the water came over our heads, like over the dune buggy. So I just like plant my legs together and like grab my phone, and I had my GoPro in my hand. So it was fine. And my dad was behind us in the dune buggy with my mom. He saw what happened to us, and he did the exact same thing. And she didn't have her goggles down, so she got some like dirt in her eye, and it got totally messed up. But the third one to go was my sister and brother-in-law, and they had wised up, and they went around the deep part of the puddle. So it was a very very fun. You get very, very dirty. Like, we got to the beach, and I just went straight in my clothes. It's like, what's the point now? We're going to get dirty again. And we did. There was showers to like clean up when you get back to the dune buggy place. However, as soon as I cleaned up, I was getting dirt on me. Like, it was just nonstop dirt. So it was super, like, very, very muddy. Be aware if you're going to do that, but very fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds fun if you can handle the dirt. Yeah. Or after the excursion, did you hang out at all in the port area, or did you just strictly just do the excursion and get back on the ship?
We went right back to the ship because everybody was totally dirty. I had actually thought at the time, like, oh, maybe we could come back off and go to that cool little, like, there's a round bar up there. But then once we got back to the ship and cleaned off, it was like, oh, I'm too tired to go back out. So that was all we did in Amber Cove.
Fair enough. What was your next port of call?
It was Grand Turk.
And how was your day there?
In Grand Turk, my sister actually booked us for the day. She booked through, I think it was Facebook, Jack Shack. You can pay $20 a chair. So she reserved 6 chairs at Jack Shack, and she had been messaging them, and they told her, hey, we've got your payment, or I guess you pay when you get there, but she's, you're confirmed. We're going to have 6 chairs for you on the front row. So knowing that, we weren't, trying to race off the ship. We got there at a moderately early hour, but we're walking the beach. It's a significant walk on the beach, like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how fast you walk. And you pass the free chairs, you pass the chairs where people are trying to sell them to you. So I'm hearing all the prices. Like, a lot of people are trying to do $20 a chair. And, over to Jack Shack, where it's crowded because I guess a lot of other people had booked their chairs online. And it turns out we did not have chairs saved for us on the front row. However, my dad did kind of push back on them, and he got us clamshell chairs in the front, and then 3 other chairs like on the second row. So it was better than where they were trying to set us up originally, which was by the trash. I was like, I'm not doing this. A little diva moment. I was like, no, I could just walk down to the other chairs over there. But it was fine. They fixed it. And then the other thing about Jack Shack is that the beer was, I think it was $56 for a bucket of 6 beer. Mm-hmm. But then when we were walking, my boyfriend remembered that he had passed a place that said like $20 for a bucket of beer. And so knowing that, like, because my dad bought a bucket and told us the price, but we were buying a bucket, we walked back down the beach and bought a 5 for $20 bucket, and then we returned the bucket later. So there's better deals to be had. I was trying to be like a little sneaky about it, not like flaunting it. I don't want Jack Shack to like lose their business, but there are better deals to be had.
Did you say $56 for the bucket?
Yeah.
Wow. Man, like a decade ago, beers were $3 there at Jack Shack. That's wild.
Yeah, no, their prices are pretty high.
All right, so you leave
Their prices are pretty high.
All right, so you leave Grand Turk, you head back to Port Canaveral. How was the debark process with 6,700 people on board?
Debarkation wasn't that bad. I had put a bag out in the hallway, and my parents had put a bag out in the hallway the night before. So we had a group number. I don't remember what it was on when to get off the ship. And what I didn't realize is our group number was after we were supposed to leave the stateroom, which makes sense. We decided not to go to eat food because it just seemed like chaos.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so we went down to a lounge where just to wait. And then eventually we're like, well, my dad has to get the car out of the garage and we could get his bag for him. So let's send him on to get the car. But then they ended up calling numbers that were pretty close to us. We just went ahead and got off the ship.
Gotcha. Was it, as far as going through, exiting the ship, going through the facial recognition and all of that, pretty seamless and the line kept moving?
Yes, it's very fast with that facial recognition technology.
So any first-time tips to offer someone sailing on Carnival's Mardi Gras?
Yeah, like I said before, I think when you're arriving on the ship, come not hungry, eat breakfast beforehand, and then just kind of wait around in the lounges until rooms are called. And then that's your green light to go to the marketplace for food because it'll be much less crowded and you won't have to deal with that chaos up there.
Awesome. And what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for y'all?
For me, it was that dune buggy excursion where my mom got totally muddy. She was so mad at me about that, but really funny.
Awesome. And in closing here, your final thoughts of Carnival's Mardi Gras.
So I really liked the Mardi Gras ship. I thought it was a good ship. I wouldn't necessarily I'm not rushing to go back and do it again, but the venues on the ship are really nice. For example, I really appreciated the design of the Brass Magnolia, the Fortune Teller Bar. There was a lot of, from the Mardi Gras, you could see that, French opulence, similar to New Orleans, which I honestly wasn't expecting because the last Carnival ship I was on was the Breeze, and I thought it was the decor was a little bit cheap down, or you could tell it was just two-dimensional. But on the Mardi Gras, they really went all out on theming and placemaking, which I appreciated and was surprised by. I thought it was a job well done. I think the layout of the ship, however, is a little bit confusing. It doesn't have a central kind of promenade, or it goes up. We couldn't figure out the best deck to cross the ship on. We were in the spa stateroom on deck 17, and we couldn't cross the ship on deck 17. You have to go in, then you have to go down or up to go over to 17. So just kind of some interesting layout things that we fortunately had a week to figure out. If you're on the ship any shorter, I would say maybe a little bit more confusing. Oh, and another thing I wanted to talk about was the drink package. So I did not get the drink package, but my sister and her husband did, and then my parents got the drink package. And it's a drink package price recently increased. I think it's $82 and some change per day. And I ended up, I did calculations, basically. I was tracking the spending, and I averaged out for my wife and I, the two of us, the first 3 days, we were around that 82 a day mark. And I was man, maybe we should just go on the drink package because at least then we could get water. Water is hard to come by on the ship.
Oh, yeah.
But then after day 3, it's a 7-day cruise. It started to taper off. So I think the value of the drink package is really going to be in those shorter cruises because drinking like that for 7 days is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing with the drink package is it's got the 15 drink limit a day, which it seems totally reasonable. Who's going to drink 15 drinks a day? But my sister pointed out that actually seems kind of more like a challenge. So some people, it seems got to get my money's worth. I need all 15. So I'm not sure about that. But the cool thing about the drink package that I was jealous of is that they could get a bottle of water every time they order a drink. And so my sister kindly started passing us waters because otherwise you're, just having to go to the buffet and fill cups, which isn't very convenient.
That's one area I do applaud Carnival because, well, I mean, I applaud them on multiple areas, but a lot of cruise lines now are charging you. So you get 15 drinks per day. If you get a bottled water, like Holland America now, I think Princess as well, that bottled water counts as 1 unit towards your 15, whereas other lines you get, like Carnival, you can get unlimited water and 15 drinks.
Yeah, it's like, do you want everyone to be dehydrated? That
Right.
seems like a recipe for disaster.
We were chatting before the interview, and you started blogging before it was cool, back when you were a teenager. So where can we find your blog?
That is victoriaonvacation.com.
victoriaonvacation.com. Got it. We'll also link that in the show notes at cruiseradio.net. Victoria, I sure appreciate you coming on and sharing your vacation with us. Anytime you cruise, feel free to reach out again.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Just back from a cruise? Let's talk about it. Email Doug at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy.
Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,